Torch Against the Night by Sabaa Tahir. We finally got our hands on it.
Woo!
It's even signed. We got this book at Bia this year. My god, were the lines huge, but it is totally worth it.
Yeah, we were in like a 2.5 hour line for this. I really liked the first one. I was really surprised with the first one. I thought the first one was supposed to be a standalone, and then I finished it and I'm like, nope, it's gonna have a sequel.
I enjoyed it as well. I read it for Bia because I'm like, oh, she's gonna be there. I should probably know what the book's about. And I really enjoyed it.
It's like a fantasy world that's based off of like Roman society, like ancient Rome, which was really sweet because, you know, not your European medieval fantasy romp. No, let's change it up a little bit.
And it also kind of combines it with like a Middle Eastern feel, like you kind of picture the scholars in like the Arabian desert kind of deal. It's really cool. So this book picks up right where the last book left off, with Elias and Laia escaping through the catacombs during the scholar revolution that Keenan has kicked up. You know, they're running and they're trying to escape, and they're being tailed by the commandant.
Creepy lady.
And you know, she's tailing them throughout the city, and they finally figure out a way to get out, and she's there and she's waiting for them. And you know, Elias nearly is beaten by her, but Laia intervenes, and then the commandant like scratches Elliot with her sword, and they get out of the city.
It's like, why did she let us go? Well, obviously the blade is poisoned.
And so they quickly figure out that whatever Elias has been poisoned with, it's illegal in the country and there is no cure. So he's having seizures and looks like he's gonna die pretty soon.
So they find like a temporary cure, like just something to deal with the symptoms, and they continue their adventure. They run into Keenan and Izzy, and okay, I'm not gonna lie, I've never liked Keenan.
Yeah,
he's just
fine.
like, just like, he has red hair, man. He's obviously not normal. He's obviously not normal.
You're just like, spot the main character.
Because like, you know, everybody else is like, he's so obviously not like
from here.
He's like, yeah, he's like the anime boy character. Like, that is what he is. You know, the crazy, like, ugh. And I'm just like, no, don't go with him. And ugh.
No, yeah.
Don't like him.
I was always kind of suspicious of him, but I never quite figured out until the reveal why. I was just like, yeah, I don't trust you. You're setting off bad vibes.
And I mean, their relationship is not as solid, I find.
It's kind of like more like love at first sight.
Not even that. Later on in the book, he's just very like, no, let me take over. I'll lead. Yeah, you're not good at this, but I still like you. And I'm just like, no.
Stop it!
No,
Stop it!
No. The moment, like, you know, like the love interest is like, no, let me take care of you. I'm just like, no, thank you. I am my own person, thanks. Like, that pissed me off because she kind of like easily like, okay, steps into that role. And I'm like, no, I like you because you're feisty and like you take risks and you defend yourself.
And you might make some mistakes, but you know, who doesn't? Thank you.
The other guy respects you for who you are and doesn't want to take care of you.
They're going basically cross country and they're trying to get to Cough Prison. Meanwhile, Helen is dealing with Marcus, and you know, she fucking hates the guy, he fucking hates her, so this is like all well and good, and he commands her to go hunt down Elias. All the while she's being like kind of trailed by this guy named Harper, who's a spy for the commandant, and he's obviously not as awful as he seems. Or he's meant to seem, because you meet him and he's like interrogating Helen for days on end, so you know you're supposed to hate him, but clearly he's just doing it because he's loyal to the Empire.
Like she should be. Empire first.
Yeah. So anyways, it boils down to Helen has a timeline, or an end date to which she has to find Elias or Marcus will murder her family. Woo! Also kind of engaged to her sister.
Woo!
So Helen's doing that, she's running around, she's trying to find Elias. They have a few close encounters. Eventually what happens is she finds him and he's stuck in Cough Prison, and she's like, the commandant is fucking shit up. I need to go deal with that. I'm gonna have to leave Elias in prison, and yeah. Because
the commandant wants to be empress because she serves a higher lord.
She serves the
Nightbringer. She pissed me off in this book because she just became like, kind of like a henchman villain, you know, not like a villain, and just, it was too, like, it was too coincidental. Like, everything she was doing felt very, not like as planned as it felt in the first book. It was just, oh, I happened to get here first. Oh, I happened to get here
Yeah.
first. And I'm just like, oh,
Stop it.
stop it, you're boring.
Because she's like working her way throughout the countryside, killing any scholar that she finds who isn't a slave. So basically she's just committing like a one-woman genocide against the scholars. And so she's working her way to Cough Prison, and she's going to like expunge the people at Cough Prison. All the while she's like siphoning soldiers off of the marshals and building them into an army hidden away in which she's going to attack Marcus with.
And Marcus knows. He knows. He's
But
like, I'm gonna deal with it in my own time.
But he doesn't tell Helen, which
No.
is like what's frustrating. It's like, just communicate, you assholes.
And it's great because on the other side, there is so much communication, and I just loved it. It's just like, so what's your story? And they tell him, it's like, I have been poisoned. I could hide this from her and like have a seizure and like...
Like, I could be a complete dick and like take away all her choices, or I could just, tell her what's
So
going
he's
on.
like, yeah, I think I've been poisoned. This is probably what poisoned me. There's no cure. We're gonna have to deal with this. I'm sorry. And I'm just like, what?
No forced drama for stupid decisions?
Yes. And so I super respected that out of those two, because I'm like, thank you for doing the one thing no one ever does in these situations. Then on the other side, it's the miscommunication that just screws everyone up.
Because, he totally could have had Elias back if he just told Helen that
Yeah.
he had things under control.
Everyone wants to see each other suffer because nobody actually likes each other on that side. So they just like putting their own plans on the back burner just so they can screw everything up.
If you're trying to run an empire, you're doing a fucking bad job.
Yeah.
So anyways, Helen does not return with Elias, and so Marcus slaughters her entire family except for one sister who he's insisting on marrying. And Helen, finally... This is what I didn't quite get about Helen, is like, how does the slaughtering of her entire family convince her that the Empire should come first? It really should have just convinced her that the Empire needs to burn to the fucking ground.
I don't know. I don't know.
I was just like, okay, alright, I will accept it.
I guess it's the Empire as the Empire, not as the Emperor. Like,
yeah.
when the father says, there are like 6 million people depending on you, she's more focused on them. Like, she has to keep it together for them and not for...
Yeah, but like the slaughtering of the family doesn't really like connect those two. You know what I mean? Like, yes, the father tells her that as she's dying, but I don't think that would make it sink into her brain. It was kind of like a disconnect. So I was like, all right, fine, I'll take you at your word, but that didn't quite feel realistic to me. But anyway, so Elias gets those and he decides that he needs to rescue Darren because his time is running out. He's also communicating with a Jinn who runs a forest for the dead of people who need to pass on. So he's having like moments where he's having like a seizure and he passes out and he goes to this place and he's communicating with this woman, and it turns out that she wants him to take her place, helping the dead pass on. That turns out to be how he ends up saving himself from the poison. He dies and then takes this woman's place.
But he can't leave the forest for long periods of time, so he's kind of trapped in a spot.
And I just kind of like imagined like Will Turner at the end of Pirates of the Caribbean and how he becomes Squidface. Now he
David Jones.
Yeah.
And the spirits get jealous if he's gonna get it on.
This is gonna be awkward.
So the big reveal is Keenan is actually the Nightbringer, which is not really a big reveal. I kind of called it.
Yeah. He needed Elia's armband.
Because he's collecting all of that special kind of steel or
Whatever.
silver, because it was the cage that all the Jinn are trapped in.
So yeah, basically he needs to go around and trick everybody who's ever had a piece of this because it needs to be given over freely to somebody.
So then he can construct the cage so he can open the cage, and the afterlife woman is just like, no, they've been locked up for thousands of years. They're crazy. We don't want them out. Like, that is a bad thing. Don't let him do this.
Kind of like, life kind of sucks for the Nightbringer because, as he becomes all these people to trick people into giving him the silver, he kind of like becomes
he
those
becomes
two.
them for real.
Yeah, so he kind of has to like break his own heart like 1,000 times.
I really liked that.
Yeah, I did too. He kind of drove it home, but I really wanted to drive that home in the next book too. Like, just to sell it. There's the warden of the prison as well, who is amazing, on the creepy scale at least.
Yeah.
He runs around reciting like poetry and philosophy as he tortures people.
He loves his experiments.
He believes that, only under torture can you get the real truth, which is complete bullshit.
And because of that, he's disturbingly good at reading people.
Like, you'd almost, like, swear he's a mind reader because he just, like, sees
He's
everybody's
like, Helen says one thing, and he's able to, like, unpack all of the things from that one little thing and just how her face is. And she's a mask, right? Her face is completely expressionless, or so she thinks. It's just like, oh, it's so good. He's so messed up.
Yeah, and he's also working for the Nightbringer, but he and the Commandant aren't close. So, you have those two, like, working off of each other, and I really want them to duke it out in the next book, because the two of them against each other, it's, like, pretty easily matched. Anyways, so Elias has to deal with him, and, you know, they find Lia's brother, and they end up getting him out of prison. Life is good. They kind of have a little respite as they wait for Darren to recover.
Yep, and the book ends with him waking up, so...
Yeah.
Onward! I liked it.
I did. I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it as much as the first one, but I enjoyed it. Yeah, there's a lot to look forward to in this book. There's stuff we didn't really discuss, like Lia's secret power.
Lots of people have secret powers. The cook lady is crazy.
I love her.
But she's great.
She just keeps climbing in Helen's window, and I'm like, yes, let's have these secret conversations. But my prediction for the end is Marcus will bite the bullet, Elias will become emperor. No, he can't become emperor anymore. No, the empire's just gonna collapse. Scholars are going to start to not be slaves anymore.
Honestly, if this is gonna play out like it played, like, historically, the barbarians are just gonna sweep down and start, like, screwing shit up.
Yeah, but I mean, we haven't really encountered any barbarian characters.
We haven't encountered the characters, we've just heard of them massing, and just, like, how the Commandant doesn't care. She's like, they're nothing, nothing's gonna, like, they're barbarians. Like, we always stop them. Like, look, I just stopped this one, and I'm like, you stopped this one.
But you're not gonna stop.
But you're not gonna stop the next.
Yeah.
It's like the Game of Thrones mentality, where you're so focused on your own little internal bullshit, you forget that there's the rest of the world around you that's coming for you.
If you want something similar to kind of tide you over, there's a series that I really love called The Fall of a Kingdom by Hilary Bell. And it's kind of got that whole same, like, Middle Eastern feel, where there's, like, a Roman-esque society coming in and trying to take over, and, you know, you have people working against the Roman side because they've got, like, a year timeline to take them over. I really like it because it kind of focuses on running a revolution and all the, like, micro details about that, but it's also kind of got the same feel. Alright, see you guys later.